Hello and welcome along to 101 Part-Time Jobs. I'm Giles Bidder and today I'm speaking to Leron Thomas, known as Pan Amsterdam, also known for his collaboration with Iggy Pop on his inwards-looking latest album, Free. Pan Amsterdam's latest single, Carrot Cake, is playing beneath this. You can go and find that everywhere, as well as Ha Chu, the album he released last year. On this episode, we go on a deep dive throughout his life in music and what it's like to be a jazz musician today. This is episode 97 of this podcast. I got something to announce on the 101st episode, something that I've been working on for a little while and I'm excited to tell you all about. So thank you so much for keeping up with this show. Nearly 100 episodes is kind of nuts, and I'm excited that this week's episode is with someone who's just done so much. So thank you, Leron, for being up for this chat. Thank you, Caitlin Ballard, for setting it up. East London's Signature Brew have been brewing beers with bands since 2011. They've made some amazing beers with Mastodon, Idols, Slaves, Sports Team, Craig Finn, and a whole bunch more. If you go onto their website, signaturebrew.co.uk, you can check out what beers they've got on offer. And if you live in the UK, you can get 10% off your order by using the voucher code 101podcast, all capitals. All right, here is Leron Thomas on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Recorded the day Donald Trump left office. Go well. Cheers!
Deep in the woods on ayahuasca. Burn me out the forest when you're more hairier than Chuck Norris.
Today's a pretty big day, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So Trump's out of office. I saw some people posting like the helicopter lifting him, lifting him off from the White House. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's mad. Where are you living?
I live in New York. I live in Manhattan and like the Upper West Side area. And yeah,
so you might see the effect of what's happening at Capitol Hill today, outside your door, right?
As far as the New Yorkers, they might react. There's no telling what's going to happen today.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess the future looks up in some ways, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't follow it too close. I try to, but I observe. That's all. I guess that's all anyone can do is observe.
Totally, totally, and try and make your own decisions as much as possible, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Speaking of making your own decisions, this podcast is all about kind of going your own way, I suppose. There's no real correct right way for any musician to go about what they're doing. And on the first track of Ha Chu, I love when you say that as a musician you're kind of all over the place. You want to be all over the place. You want to be doing different things all the time. I wonder if that translates to exactly the topic of these chats on this podcast about doing different stuff all the time and trying to figure out things as you go. Whilst trying to always keep it from the heart.
Yeah, I mean, trial and error and trying not to. Because things get stale if you follow especially when you're doing artistic ventures. You know what I'm saying? It's really, you don't want to stay too stale and just follow the same formula, proven formula over and over and over again. I think people get tired of that. I mean, more than they even know.
Yeah. For real.
Yeah.
And that makes me think, with all the ways to keep afloat and pay your rent and pay the bills and get new shoes when you need them, everyone needs a job. Have you had loads of jobs over the years?
I haven't. I've been one of the more fortunate ones. Like the last job I had was when I was about 18 and I was working at Six Flags.
Right. That's funny, man.
The theme park. Yeah, man. I had a Dixieland hat and I had like a vest, and we would play like New Orleans music and Dixieland music. But it was so hot out there because, that's when I was living in Houston. So it's like 100-degree temperature with these black leather shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like your feet are on fire. So, we quickly lost that job. We were supposed to be like a brass quartet. We lost that gig because we were hanging in the little dome area where the water show was. Because there was air conditioner there. So we were just hanging there. We were supposed to go out like at the top of the hour, every hour. And we were like, nah, man, fuck that. We're not doing that. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if you can cuss.
No, of course you can. Yeah, hey, do anything.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, I was just, we lost that gig. So that was the last job I had. After that, I've just been fortunate, man. I've been just, lucky enough to play. Even now, there's some sync work coming in from some stuff that I did. It's starting to land on some sync. Yeah, working with Iggy Pop, so that
Absolutely,
helps.
written and produced free, which is amazing.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, it was fun working that album. It was, I was scared because I know people want Iggy to be a certain way, but he was really trying to go this other direction, and I could understand that, and I just happened to be there to accommodate that.
I think that, direction, decision, whatever kind of word you want to call it, that I think that landed with people. You know what I mean? For me, it landed.
Hmm. I
Definitely.
hope so.
It's
Thank
fucking
you.
awesome. And Seamus,
Thank
there's a guy
you.
called Seamus that plays
Yeah.
keys.
Yeah, I remember Seamus. Yeah, Seamus from his band.
He
He
lives
his
on my
core
road.
band,
I know
yeah.
him from going down the pub
Yeah.
before all this stuff.
Tell Seamus I said what's up. We did some stuff. We toured last year or year before last.
And was that touring experience good? Was that that was the first tour with Iggy that you did?
Yeah, it was scary too because we did Sydney Opera House. I was like, dude, we're doing Sydney Opera House, man. Like that's my first time working with you, man. Give me at least a bar gig or something, man.
Did you have some shows? So you didn't have any shows leading up to that?
No, we didn't have any leading up to it. We had, we had a couple of rehearsals and then we hit. Yeah.
Wow. How'd you prepare for playing the Opera House?
Well, I did a sectional with my trombone player, my friend named Corey King. He's a singer and trombone player. He's pretty dope, and he's a dope artist in his own right. But yeah, we did a sectional together and stuff like that, and then we went in and started rehearsing with the band. And yeah, you just kind of know that you can't miss. You got to hit it. You know what I'm saying? Last minute, but hey, this is the gig. Yeah.
And everything leading up to Free and the arrangements. How planned out was all that stuff? Did you let any of it kind of come to serendipity or whatever?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. It was really interesting, man. I went out to Paris and I was working my. I have a French band that I like to play with. Parisian. I shouldn't call them all Parisian. They're French.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we were working and I had a lot of material, and Iggy knew me only as Pan Amsterdam at the time. And then once he saw that I was doing all this other stuff, and he saw that the music that I handed him, he has a punk ear, so he could hear the rawness. He could hear through the rawness of what it was, and he could hear the structures and whatnot. Yeah. And that's how we started to work Free together. We started working kind of off of material I kind of already had, and then I started writing some other material for him, like Love's Missing. I wrote that, with him. And then also James Bond was something that I wrote later, just that once I got a feel for his vibe.
Yeah, for real.
Where he was at the time, because I didn't want to come in there trying to do an Iggy album to Iggy Pop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's kind of a whole like range of emotions. I feel because you got how did you try and kind of navigate that?
Well, you have to kind of. At the end of the day, you have to realize that these people are human beings and they're going through their own personal soundtrack in their life. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
And you want to try and hear what that is. And then you just kind of sit around them and you just kind of fill out things and you just treat them like your homies. You know what I'm saying? Even though they're not, they're these Iggy Pop, but you kind of have to keep that out of your head.
Yeah.
Just be real about it, man. You listen to this cat, you're like, nah, I don't think he feels like doing 5'1" on this album. You know what I mean?
There's that track on, there's, Bits on Hachu where Jason Williamson from Sleaford Mod comes in and, you got the microphone rolling and, you're saying hi and introducing. I get that vibe from that, from those moments.
Yeah. It's real human,
totally.
Right? Yeah. That's all it is, man. That's exactly how you got to engage everything. That way you can get the best results of where people are at artistically. How
do you feel like you've learned that? Did you learn that kind of thing quite early on, do you think, in your career?
Yeah, definitely. It helps being a jazz musician because there's a lot of live interaction that can potentially be just chaotic sounding. You know what I mean? And you have to really be in tune where everybody's at emotionally and spiritually and mentally and all that kind of stuff. And you kind of get this, you start to develop a bit of a sixth sense, I want to say. Some little Jedi, mind matrix kind of
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
get a little bit of that going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man.
Was there like a moment, early in your career where you were like, this is great, I'm on the path that I want to be on? Was there any, one or two moments in your story so far that, you've had anything like that?
Yeah, one was something right out of a Michael Jackson Coca-Cola commercial. I don't know if you guys remember those Michael Jackson Coca-Cola commercials where the kids would be trying to dance like him, and then they turn around and he's right there. Well, see, that happened to me when I was playing at this high school, and my idol at the time was the late Roy Hargrove, jazz musician. And like we were at one of his old high schools. By this time, he's famous. He lives in New York. There's no reason why he would be at this high school. And I was playing at this jam session for the at the school, and somebody tapped my shoulder, and I looked back, and it's Roy Hargrove, and I was like, "What the hell?" And I was playing all of his licks, so he played all of his licks back at me, and then played some other stuff, and then played some other stuff, and that's when I realized I was supposed to come to New York and be, at least, at that time I thought I was going to be only a jazz musician.
Mm.
And then what changed for me is when I heard Bilal perform. He's like a neo soul artist, and that was like kind of big around that time in 19 like I want to say like 2000, like 1998 going to like 2003. That was kind of a trend. And man, but listening to that cat sing really got me into wanting to be more of a singer songwriter myself. And so that was another time. And then, of course, the third time was when I met Iggy Pop. I was like, damn.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you feel like it was kind of a brave move to take on these new kind of tasks, these kinds of new horizons when you think about stuff like that?
Well, yeah, it's weird because when you take on a new horizon, the one thing I learned is that you actually go back to zero. You go back to one pretty much. And so like New York is kind of like a genie, it's like or I shouldn't even limit this to just New York. I mean, I think just being a performer is almost a vain pursuit unless you really have purpose. And so what happens is that vanity, you'll say, "Hey, I want to sing now." Well, then you're going to have to start back at square one. You know what I mean? And you might have been further along if you would have just stuck to being a jazz musician. And so there is this kind of punishment that you give yourself. You have to pay your dues, so to
For
speak,
real, yeah.
when you want to take on something new. Yeah, for sure.
How do you kind of?
It doesn't.
Sorry, go on.
No, it doesn't always work that way, but in my case, it
Yeah.
does. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How do you, because we're all going to meet musicians in our lives who kind of have big egos, and that's going to be kind of lame. How do you, how do you keep your ego from running away from you?
I think I always just try and hope and pray on that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, just try to keep. I try to keep a sense of faith and a sense of, I guess, humility. In the sense of like, I'm always trying to work things that I don't know I can like really perfect. In other words, I'm always searching. You know, and that kind of keeps you humble. When you're looking for new things, looking for a new melody, looking for, you're just constantly searching, trying to better your understanding of what it is you're trying to express. You know, I think that kind of keeps you humble, but it can also come off too as arrogance to onlookers. I mean, sometimes people are not on the same they're not resonating on the same frequency you're resonating on. And so that can cause conflict, and people might take your plight and your need and your venture, what you're looking for, this whole venture of yours, as arrogance in itself. you know so you kind of have to so you have to be so it's a balance, man. I mean, you got to keep some of that ego there, you know what I mean, but at the same time you have to try to stay open and to other people's ideas and interpretations of what it is that you're trying to do.
Who in are there any like collaborators that you've had that have really helped you? That you've had this kind of conversation with. Are you pretty open about talking about this kinds of stuff when you make music with someone?
I try to keep the dialogue to a minimum when I'm trying to make music with people. For reasons that I don't know. I mean, like some, it's like we miss out on talking through just the art.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, I do.
Yes. So you just like, so more often than not, I'll just kind of send people like files or things like that of what I'm working on and see what they send back, and that becomes the dialogue. You know?
Definitely. It's why you need to smoke
And
inside where you're practicing.
yeah,
I used to hate cigarette breaks.
exactly.
So I was like, why are we doing this? We're here, like, great, this is great, but let's do it inside,
Yeah,
Let's get to work.
yeah,
Some
man.
people don't like hearing that, do they? Some people don't like hearing let's get back to work.
Oh yeah. I even hate hearing that.
yeah.
Yeah, man. If I feel like it's work, man, I hate. I'm like, oh damn, man, I'm clocking
Right.
in.
Well, how do you figure that out? I guess it's different when you're halfway into a record, maybe, or a project where it feels like you're coming to the crunch, because I guess you've got momentum there. But what happens if you start working on a project and it does feel like work?
Well, that kind of sucks, man. I mean, like it's hopefully that feeling goes away within an hour or so. Because if it does feel like that, and whatever we're coming out with is gonna suck, man. You know, yeah. I mean, I think humor helps too. Like, sometimes I know me and my French band, we have a tendency to sometimes play little mind pranks on each other. And
I think laughing, I'm laughing right now, but I think laughing is so important.
yes, it is, man. Humor has it's a big component to what we do as artists, isn't it?
Yeah. I was watching some kind of documentary. I've watched 10,000 documentaries in the last year, but there was one where it's like someone was saying how you can't to laugh truly. You know what I mean? It's like such a special thing. You got to try and follow that. I think it opens you up a lot. I think laughing.
It does, and it's really cool to like even hear some of the greats. Like you listen to Charlie Parker, you can hear he had some funny ass jokes, man. He plays humorous. He has this humor, this humor in his playing,
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
And Beethoven must have been a real asshole. I mean, who starts off with da 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 da
da? Yeah. It's funny. It's crazy how you can see a smile on some songs, on some records.
Oh yeah, man, you definitely see it. I mean, I mean, man. These guys were they were pranksters. I mean, they were troublemakers, man. Yeah. They used to play with society.
It's so funny hearing about all those kinds of players, because, you can't really imagine those kinds of players existing in 2021, can you? I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe I've never been to sort of any clubs or any places where that kind of thing could exist today.
Yeah, it's a bit weird today. I mean, it's almost like you don't get work unless you have a good behavior certificate.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, it does seem like we're a bit more nanny state now compared to back in those days. But I don't know. I mean, like, there's also other radical things that they couldn't get away with back then that we can get away with now. So,
yeah, I was going to say, I think you can't look back at those times with just rosy glasses, because the golden times are now as well.
You're totally right about that. I mean, like sometimes I know sometimes I have a jazz musician's mentality, like the greatest thing has already happened. It's like, no, man, it's yet to come still. It's we need to stay optimistic
Totally
about those things, you know what I'm saying? So
totally, yeah. Do you think you're pretty good at staying optimistic?
No, I suck. Oh no, man. I'll be like, no, man, it's like, you see what's happening now? Man, the world's coming to an end, Jack. Sometimes I'll use YouTube to as an excuse to not compose anything. I'm like, why should I come up with something new? You see this? You see this new conspiracy theory? That makes sense, So that's the thing about being an independent musician for so long. You become an expert on conspiracy theories, man. Like,
where's your main source? Reddit, YouTube?
Oh man, YouTube all day. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like Reddit, I'm not much of a Reddit guy, I tried, but I couldn't get into the arrows ups and the arrows downs. I wasn't following it that well. I was like, okay.
It's bad on laptop. It's all about the phone. But even then, it's kind of it's pernickety. I think a little
Right.
bit. It's like tough on your fingers.
Yeah.
Tough for us people with big fingers. I've got big thumbs.
Me too. My fingers are pretty big. I mean, my hand's big. My fingers are quite sleek, but my hand's big. Yeah. It looks strange. Trust me. Yeah.
But being an independent musician, it's not like you've got a secretary or someone helping you out all the time. How have you kind of, got to grips with that? Are you pretty good with that? Is that something that you've had to learn to be pretty good
you
at?
have to keep you have to keep some kind of order around. I mean, so you got to be organized. I mean, I'm not the best at it, but I don't, if it start, if my organization gets, out of whack where it's starting to affect work, well, then that's a problem,
Yeah, but it's something you can see how, sometimes you don't realizing it's affecting your work in the moment.
True. This is true. Well, this is why you have close friends and you have other artists that you're working with. I mean, usually when you're engaged and working with other people, that keeps you disciplined, because they have their own vessel and space and aura about themselves and energy field too. And you got to be on point. You got to constantly be on point. So that kind of takes care of itself. Whereas, if you were going it alone, I mean, like, especially a guy like me who loves to procrastinate, who loves to kind of, certain things like that, they would take over. So it's good to interact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you had the same publishing company all along?
I just got this publishing company actually. I was when I worked with Iggy. All right, I was with ASCAP. I still am, but a lot of my deal is going through BMG now, and that Iggy helped broker that with his manager.
Nice.
And his manager became my manager actually too, which is
Great.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. He's a really good. Shout out to Henry. What up, bro?
That must be mad for you because that's a whole new world.
Yeah,
right?
It happened fast. It only happened in the span of 2 years. So it happened quick. The turnaround, because I was in France before that. So just I was working that Man Funk thing with Guts. So to come from there to this Iggy world and just things start happening so fast. I mean, you're not used to things materializing so fast. That's when you realize you're around some really special people, because they can speak, like when they speak or say something, it materializes so fast. Yeah, it's just like, damn, yeah, you're in good hands,
Working with Iggy's manager and working with Iggy, is that a bit like, meeting people from different interests and walks of life?
Yeah, it is, in the sense that, like, one thing that shocked me was when I toured with Iggy, Henry Rollins was on the tour with us, just hanging out.
Wow, cool.
You know what I'm saying?
That's mad.
And so the stories you get from him, are just amazing, man, because they're uncensored.
Yeah.
So that was just so much education, because I grew up listening to a lot of rock and punk myself, and so, like, it's just it's just like these stories he was telling, man. I mean, the education you get is wild, and you do realize you're in a whole nother end of the spectrum of art, and which requires other kinds of senses that get entertained more than in jazz. You know what I'm saying? Or more than in soul or something like that. You realize real quick. And it's fun, man. It's good because it definitely helped me with the more rock side of my music. It taught me, hey man, you kind of you need to get a little more raw here. You don't need to put all these changes here.
Yeah, this kind of structural stuff.
Sometimes I compose way too much and it doesn't breathe enough.
How are you kind of always working on different projects at one time? How many are you working on right now, or how many are in your mind right now?
Right now I'm working on 3. 2 Pan.
Wow, that's a lot, isn't it?
And 1 Leron. Yeah, I'm working on 3 projects at the moment. Yeah. It feels like it does feel like a lot. Sometimes I feel like I bit more than I can chew, you know. But then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it's like when one starts to wrap up, you're like, "Hey, wait, we need more work," you know. I need,
I
yeah,
know what you mean. You know, it's always trying to play catch up, but at the same time, it's kind of rewarding because it's like, well, I just always got
yeah,
something going
and it's
on.
sad when you realize it's coming to an end. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
you can't wait to start another project. You know, yeah,
And I've read a few interviews where you've said that Dirty Jaws was, you just having fun. Are all the three projects you're working on at the moment, do you kind of see them differently in terms of, something's a bit more raw, something's a bit more fun, something's a bit more produced or anything like that?
yeah. You definitely have to give room to what it is that it's I almost liken it to like how Bobby Fischer and those guys are playing, three chess players at one time.
Yeah, yeah,
It's totally different games, man. You gotta,
yeah.
you gotta, yeah.
Have you watched Queen's Gambit?
I did watch Queen's Gambit.
It's
Yeah,
so
I
good.
just watched it about 3 weeks ago. I was really happy to watch that, man. Yeah.
It's really good. It's changed the way that I walk into doors. If I close a door now, I kind of spin a bit.
I got you.
Every time she moves through a door, she's like a cat or something.
Yeah. I didn't even notice that until now I'm playing it back. I'm like, she was doing that every time.
It's a great story, isn't it?
It's a really great story. And it makes you want to play chess again because I play chess.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I definitely play chess. Yeah, I play online a lot, and it's something that kind of keeps me from having too many frustrated drinking nights. Or sometimes I play a little drinking chess, which is fun too. I've been playing chess since I was about 11, 12.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I've been playing.
And you're still kind of finding new moves and new moves and new ways to think about it.
It's such a hard game. I'm learning new stuff. Like I'll go. It's like painters. You know how they stop painting for a while and then they go into another period after like maybe 10, 20 years or whatever. Well,
Yeah, yeah,
chess is
yeah.
like that for me. Like I'll hit a spurt and then for like maybe 4 years or 2 to 4 years I'm not playing, and then I just get another passion for it and I start learning all these different gambits and openings and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
That's mad.
Yeah.
Definitely strikes me as like it's a pretty I don't know. I think one thing one thing that's great about chess is that it doesn't it doesn't matter about your age, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? You have like young people playing it, you have really old people playing it.
Yeah, man. And it's fun to play them too, especially online because you get some weirdos, you know, because you can,
Do you
yeah,
chat?
because you can chat as you play. Oh man, some people, man, it's real. One dude, man, he was just like, "Hi, my name is Naraj. Nice to meet you." I was like, "Nice to meet you too." And then he just didn't play.
Oh,
I
bastard.
was like,
Bastard.
dude.
You just ditched a new friend. He was trying to make friends with
Yeah,
you.
I was like, are you gonna move? Or no, he's just smiling on the a perpetual
That's funny.
smile. Yeah.
Do you get like, is it kind of like, does it relax you? Do you find kind of inspiration from that kind of, do you get into like some kind of zone?
It can, yeah, it can until it gets down to the crunch of who's actually gonna win.
Yeah.
And then yeah, sometimes I remember one game depressed me for like 2 weeks because I had that game won, but there was this one move I knew I was supposed to make every time, but I kept forgetting to make it, and
Shit.
and it messed me up for 2 weeks, man. Yeah, I was damn near bedridden.
I know you're laughing about it, but that's one of the things that I find so fascinating that, it's like a human trait. It's like if you say something that you wish you hadn't said, or you do something, you should have done it better, or you think you should have done. That's really interesting. And I do wonder if that, if that kind of overlaps with your kind of, the way you create music.
Yeah, it does in the sense that like if you're not going to, like when you get writer's block,
Mm.
that's I guess that's what everybody worries about the most is when you hit that patch and you have writer's block. If you don't know how to step out of that and be like, hey, it's just a game. You know, you're in the
Yeah.
game of life that you want to play. Be happy and and it's a privilege to have this. and just be thankful and be blessed. If you don't know how to do that, then you're getting way too obsessed, you know,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
know, and then you need, and so you need to back off. And for me, it's, it's either, going out, hanging out, or playing chess, or, whatever,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
but you need to back off. And then that way the ideas start to come back in, and, you can pick up where you left off, and,
Yeah. Brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant.
hmm
Has that happened a few times for you? I mean, is that like a regular thing where
Oh yeah.
you need to back
Oh
off?
yeah, definitely. There's plenty of times where I'm like, hey man, how about not write anything this week? Find something else to do. Yeah, for sure.
Go surfing.
Yeah. Oh man, I wish. I would love to. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't think the waves are like, really happening over in Coney Island, like plus I can't
You got
swim.
to wait till another plane comes down into the river,
Yeah,
and then you go get those waves.
yeah, catch them waves, right? Goodness gracious, man.
We saw a guy get into like a kayak going down. I was like, that is a good way to get into the outdoors during lockdown.
Yeah, people do this. People do that on the Hudson too.
Really? And the Hudson's
Yeah, they're like
dirty, right?
the Hudson's filthy. Filthy. I mean, Alfonso and his wife
Yeah.
are down there,
Yeah.
man.
People
Yeah,
are living down there or not living.
yeah, yeah, exactly. There you go. Yeah, it's real, man. I mean, like, and people fish out of that thing, man. I'm like, wow. I'm like, man, I don't know. I mean, I don't even think they're catching fish. They're catching like mutants. I remember one time I saw a muskrat come out of that thing, man. I've never
Really?
seen one before, so I had to Google it and look at what I had to describe what it was I saw, because it looked like a big rat, but the coat was real oily and beautiful, And,
Yeah, I've
yeah,
seen one before, and I thought it was like a
and
cat.
they have webbed feet. Their back legs are all webbed for swimming, like a duck.
Jesus, guys. What's like the
Yeah.
functionality being like for you and creating music, throughout 2020?
Mhm.
You couldn't go outside all that much, I imagine.
Yeah, I couldn't go outside. I mean, we had the lockdowns and things like this, but I'm pretty much a hermit half the time anyway. I'm pretty reclusive. I can
Right.
be at
Right.
times. So it didn't really bother me, man. I just sat there and composed, write some things, watch
Yeah.
comedy. I love watching stand up because the timing is it's a lot like as a performer, you
Yeah.
watch the timing of the other person. And I get a lot out of people's timing. Right now, I'm checking out Tom Segura real heavy.
I haven't seen him.
He's cool, man. He's on Netflix. He has a stand up called Ball Hog.
That's a good name. That's a good name.
Oh man, it's live, man.
Brilliant.
So
I think it sounds like you got a really good way of, keeping yourself like happy and entertained. Because I guess that must be one of like the biggest challenges, right?
well, that's what what. It's interesting you bring that up. I mean, it's going to sound a bit weird, but yeah, self amusement is very important.
Yeah, because if you're gonna like look inside of yourself,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's funny how something can be so serious and so funny at the same time.
Oh yeah, man, for sure. Self amusement is key. I mean, that's how you're going to come up with stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you got to really like it from the heart, and that's the addictive God particle that transfers to the next person. You know what I mean? Because I mean, there's some songs out there that are top 40s that I think are horrible songs, but when you listen to how that person is singing it, they really feeling that
Mm-hmm.
song.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what transcends over to the next person. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, transfers over to
No,
the next person,
absolutely.
not
It's
transcends.
inspiration. Just getting that thing, being like, that's cool, and being able to be yourself. I don't know. For me, that's one of the things it says.
Right.
Even if I might not necessarily get it, but you can get. When someone's writing from the heart. It sounds really lame to say, but when someone's writing from a pure place, I suppose. Right?
You really do. I think the problem is with elitists nowadays and a lot of people is that we think that each other are dumb. Because dumb things do happen sometimes in groupthink, but we are as individuals not dumb, and so it's like what we have. I mean, most of us anyway. But like,
no, I get you.
But what we have to do is we have to keep conveying like our music. we need to act, keep in our mind that we're just conveying to one person. Don't think that you're trying to gang the masses all the time. Just try and convey that thing to one person. You know what I'm saying? And that sincerity carries a long way. But if you think that everybody's dumb and you can just do this little formula and it's going to hit and you're going to make a hit and all that, it may or may not work, but you're not contributing to society.
I get you.
You're not contributing to your own spiritual growth.
I get you. You got to have respect for another human.
Yes, indeed. I totally agree. Yeah.
These are kind of Christian values, and every religion's values. Every kind of religion has that kind of foundation in its own form.
I believe so. I mean, I don't know. I don't study other religions in depth, but from what I studied, it seems like at core, people are, there's a certain core of principles that
totally
don't love your neighbor, don't blow nothing up.
I think music's such a big part of that, right? Music's that thing that we share. I like, everyone's on the same level to me on music, like as a fan of music, everyone's on the same level,
Yeah, man. I mean, for sure. There's music appreciation where you can train your ear to go further, but still, I mean, there's plenty of people that I know that didn't play jazz. I remember during my jazz purist days, there'd be people in the audience that couldn't play jazz, that could hear what we were doing and really, really love what we were doing. And they don't necessarily listen to jazz every day.
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it?
So, they get it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, Leron, thanks so much for chatting to me with this. I really, really appreciate it.
Hey, man, this was great. Yeah.
Seeing what you've done is so mad, and being able to chat about this real stuff is really cool. That's what I want to do on this podcast.
Yeah, nah, man, you're doing it. I'm like, it's an honor to be on here. I was like, oh, yeah, man. And shout out to my booking agent, Caitlin, that reached out to you.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin. Amazing. The Pan Am record, what are there any kind of good memories that spring to mind right now when you think back to making it or writing it?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. My favorites with Jimmy Goodwin and Jason Williamson, when we all got together on the track Hannibal.
Yeah.
Lecture.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun, man. Just listening to how Jason's a beast, man. Like the way he pivots and he's dope.
He's funny.
He's really cool, man. I really love listening to his lyrics and also the way he messes with time, the way he pivots through time, Really, really profound. Really profound. And I mean, his new album, Sparrer, is dope
so
too,
good. I was about to say that's, it happens with Sleaford Mods, is Andrew who makes the beats, and the way they kind of, go through time is fucking mad, isn't it?
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And I'm glad that people are starting to wake up to that, what they do so damn well.
Totally. Where they made that record is where I play guitar in this punk band, and we went up to Nottingham to record. One of our friends was the guy that runs the studio in Nottingham where they recorded, and it was so cool to see a record made in a DIY built studio is going to be in the top 10. It's a pretty sick.
That's a feat. That is a feat. Yeah, that says, and again, that says a lot about people too. It's like like we were saying, you can give people real stuff and they'll accept it, man. Yeah. You don't have to compromise.
Totally. And you're so right. People wake up to that. Yeah. I think that is totally that in that case. Yeah. Amazing.
For sure.
Well, Leron, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to bumping into you at some point.
We will, man. I got you free backstage tickets, man. Next time I'm doing something, you know that. You know what's going down.
Thank you so much. Well, I hope you have a lovely day.
All right. You too, man. Thank you.
So that's Leron Thomas on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Thank you, Rory Hughes, for editing this episode. Thank you for listening. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. Some more excellent episodes incoming your way. Here's Sparrer.
I've been working all day for me mate on the side, running around like a blue-ass fly. I've been working all day for me mate. Every big minute I've been on the go, up and down the ladder like a fiddler's elbow. I've been working all day for me mate.
This is a Mighty Moon Media podcast.